Welcome to day 4 of 30 days of breaking bad habits and gaining good ones. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Martha Burich, and I have over 40 years of experience in changing behavior, getting better behaviors, getting rid of the behaviors we don't want. Today, our topic is gratitude. So let's gain some gratitude. You know, how does gratitude help us? What What does it mean to be grateful? From what I've found, gratitude is one of the absolute best habits. If you want to have a happy life, if you want to start experience a better life, a more joyful life, a life filled with contentment, peace, serenity, well, one good habit to get into is to be grateful. You don't realize how grateful you are for every breath we take, unless you can't catch your breath. Those people that have asthma, emphysema, they appreciate every breath they take. Gratitude is a wonderful habit to get into, and I start every day being grateful. I usually try to write 5 to 10 things I'm grateful for every single day. Every single day. And the first one is thank you, God, for my health, for letting me wake up this morning, for my comfortable bed, for my warm covers, for the fan in my room, for the air conditioning, for my family, for my pets, for my job. Think of all the things you have to be grateful for. Thank you for my car that starts. Many years ago, I took a basic car repair or maintenance, basic car maintenance for women. Now we're going back, oh my goodness, at least 40 years. Anyway, the teacher said, if your car won't start, it's an inconvenience, it's aggravating. But if it won't stop, that could be life, that could be life ending. And I always remembered that. And I remember my driver's ed teacher. Yes, we used to have driver's ed years ago. It was part of high school. It was part of high school. Coach Egan. Coach Egan was his name. Anyway, we were in the car, and somebody was driving, me or someone else. I don't know who. Anyway, Coach Egan said, I don't care if you're in the Sahara Desert, you turn on that blinker. If you're going to make a turn, you turn on that blinker. And I have always remembered that. And something else he always told us, and hopefully you'll be grateful to hear this information. Never drive through a puddle you can't see the bottom of. I think that's some good advice. I have driven through a couple of puddles that I couldn't see the bottom of. And you know what? One of them, really, my car almost flooded. So I should have listened to you, Coach Egan. And luckily, the car didn't flood, and I was doing okay. But anyway, so gratitude. How did I start getting into gratitude? Many years ago on Facebook, there's a Christian man named Aaron Davis and his lovely wife. Rudy. It's Rudy Davis and his lovely wife, Erin. And they have a ministry for people that have been unjustly incarcerated. And the first one that I was aware of was Kent Hovind. He was a Christian pastor. Anyway, Rudy and Erin and they still do. They still do. You can find him on Facebook, from Texas. They have a ministry, a Christian ministry, where they help incarcerated people send letters, get other people to write letters to them, etc. And these are people that have been unjustly incarcerated. Rudy checks them out pretty thoroughly. And anyway, so following Rudy's advice, I thought, well, you know what? I'll write to them. And I wrote to 3. One, his name was Russell Landers. And I think Russell was maybe 68 when I started writing. I wrote to him for 3 years, and then he died in prison. He had been in prison 25 years. Then the other 2 were IRS. They had one of them, Elaine Brown, and she's still alive. She was released. She was a dentist. She was a dentist who had some beef with the IRS, and they weren't too happy with it. And then someone who came to Elaine's defense. But anyway, all three were in prison unjustly, according to Aaron and Rudy, and also my own belief. But anyway, so I would write to Russell, and Russell was a man of great faith. Can you imagine being in prison 25 years unjustly and to still have the great faith that Russell had? And Russell would be put in solitary, and his life in prison was not pleasant, but he was still had such faith. And he would write me letters, and I would send money so that they could get things from commissary. And Russell was always so grateful, telling me how my money made it possible for him to have a cup of coffee. It breaks my heart even when I think about it. He told me times that my money made it so he could have socks, a warm sweater. Anyway, Russell sent me a letter. We sent at least I think 2 letters a month, and a letter Russell sent me one time, and he told me about his gratitude list. And Russell had over 1,000 things on his gratitude list. Excuse me. Now, realize that when they would throw Russell in the hole, they would go through his cell and throw everything away, and he would have to start his gratitude list over. He had rewritten it many times, yet Russell still had gratitude. And I remember reading his letter, and I thought to myself, what's your problem, Martha? I didn't have I was ungrateful. I had all these things to be grateful for. I had a good job. I had my health. I had a good family, a wonderful son, and he was healthy. Our pets were healthy, and what did I do? Was I grateful? No, whining every day. Nothing was ever good enough. And that day, I changed. I said, okay, Martha, you're going to be like Russell, and you are going to do something. And I did. I started a gratitude list. And now my list only got to about 350 things. But I started every day writing things down. Thank you. And I would get out of bed and be grateful. Before I even got out of bed, thank you, God, for this day. Thank you for my breath. Thank you for my warm bed. Thank you for my pet's life. And I have a story about when my pet passed on, but that's for another day. So yes, gratitude, and it changed my life. When I started being grateful for things, you know what I started? I started seeing the good in other people. Before that, I was always seeing the bad, saw the bad in myself and the bad in others. And I was beginning to get a more of a positive attitude. But being grateful every day really woke me up. I would go to the grocery store and be grateful that I could buy the things I wanted. I would get in my car and I would remember what that mechanic told us in that training. If your car won't start, it's an inconvenience. And when my car would start, I would be so grateful. And when the windows would roll down, I'd push a button, right? All we do now is push a button. I remember when we didn't have buttons, we had these cranks. We had to roll down our windows. What a blessing. And when you push that button and the window goes down, what a blessing. And you push it and the window goes back up, because I did have a car that the motor burnt out of the window and I couldn't get the window down. Oh, what a blessing. So yes, be grateful. And I take AA meetings into the women's jail here. And every week I am so, so grateful for those women, those wonderful women there. And that I'm able to do that I'm able to take that meeting. And they are so appreciative. And that I can help them in some way. And if I were negative and not grateful for all the many things that I have, what could I offer those women? I couldn't offer them anything. And when I see people and I meet them, I always see the good. I think we talked about that yesterday, seeing the good in people. It makes, it turns my experience of life, it turned my experience of life totally 180 degrees. When I began seeing the good in people, it increased my appreciation for people. One time I read something, and the author, I think it was Wayne Dyer, he said, listen to everyone as if they know something you don't. And that really took me back. And I thought, yes, exactly. And so I started listening and really listening. And goodness, I have learned so much now that I listen to everyone. I have met people who used to live in dumpsters. I'll speak to people who are homeless. Why? Because everyone has something to tell me. In fact, where was I? I was in, I was in Vancouver on a bus. And this was just about a month ago. And I was with my friend, and a man came on the bus, and he looked homeless. Goodness, he was something. And he started talking to me. And so I said, yes, well, what did you do about that? And how do you do that? And, well, how did you do that? And then I asked him, okay, would you make sure I'm safe here? And I mean, we had a wonderful conversation for about 20 minutes while we were on the bus together. And when we got off the bus, my friend said, Martha, you were so good to him. You really treated him like a human being. And I said, well, he is. He is a human being. Who wouldn't treat him like one? But how many times have we felt as if people treated us as if we're less than because somehow we think we don't measure up? Oh goodness, I'm just thinking about that man had such a big heart. He was really a dear, and he was so helpful. He gave me and my friends such good advice. Now don't go to this neighborhood. This is a bad neighborhood. This is the neighborhood with the drug addicts. Now you're safe in this neighborhood. He was so helpful and such a dear, dear man. But yes, we have to begin to be grateful and realize people are put in our path for a reason. No matter what we think, people are put in our path for a reason. And we need to look at them and understand that reason. And sometimes we'll never understand that reason. So guess what? Our job then is to treat everyone with dignity and decency and to be grateful that we have the things we have, that we're able to help other people, that we're able to do things. It's when I learned that, I can be useful to others. And how can I best be useful to others? To be grateful for what I have, to not be envious and jealous. I remember one time I was very envious and jealous of a woman, and just because of my own inadequacies. This was years ago, and I'll be darned if one day she didn't come walking into that AA meeting and she had lost everything. So, if you are feeling envy of anyone, stop now. You have no idea what's really going on in their lives. But your envy is really, look in the mirror. That's what your envy is. You really envy, and look in the mirror. What are you envying? What are you lacking? What do you think you're lacking? Because really, we're lacking nothing. We just think we are. I was asked to be a speaker on a panel of survivors, and I said, I've been very blessed. My parents were lovely people. I had a mean stepmother, but she just said mean things. She never hurt me. And I said, if I was ever a victim, I was a victim of myself and my own stinking thinking, which really I think started when I was 2. I remember my brother Billy and I, God bless his soul, he's passed, but Billy and I, we used to always fight. Mom loves you best. Mom always loved you best. Well, one day we were both in our 30s and we were having that same argument. Mom loved you best, blah, blah, blah. Well, Billy said, I said, Mom loved you best. And Billy said, that's not true. It was you. And then he listed all the reasons why Mom loved me best. And then I gave all my reasons why Mom loved him best. And then we both realized we were both so full of it. We were just big kids who hadn't grown up. And, we were talking at the jail today how our lives are we're constantly recirculating our lives with our parents. And in high school, they tell me how the jail is just like one big high school. And these women that are in their 60s and 70s, they still act like teenagers and little kids. Yes, you know what? It's hard to grow up, and unless you've had a lot of therapy, and unless you make a point of growing up, getting grateful, looking at your past. And here's another story. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was 15, I was so attached to my mother. Oh my God, how That poor woman. That poor woman. Here I was 15. You know, my mother was very strict, but she never hit me. But even when I was 15, I remember having to ask to open the refrigerator door. My mother ran a tight ship. Anyway, so we were at Famous Bar, which is the Macy's of today. And I lost my mom. I'm 15. I'm 15. I lost my mom. And I started yelling, Mom, Mom, like a little 3-year-old. Oh, my mother was she was mortified. I embarrassed her so much. Martha, what's wrong with you? Oh my goodness, but I was a big kid and I was so dependent on my mother. God rest her soul. She was a lovely woman. Anyway, okay, so gratitude. So I'm so grateful for my mother. And you know, I used to think that if you cry, you know, if you were continuing to cry about someone who's passed, that you really hadn't, um, that you still had a lot of unresolved uh, issues with them. Well, you know what? I was wrong. You know, the people we love, they can be gone for years, and one day you'll have a memory and you'll cry. So, and it's a blessing because those memories, we're able to keep them. Those are something to be grateful for, our memories. Another thing to be grateful for, if you've got $1 in your pocket, be grateful. You know, if you've got a job, whether you like it or not, if you can pay your bills, be grateful. If you have, my mother used to tell me, Martha, if you have one friend, you're blessed. And you know, my brothers were always real popular. My mother was very popular. She was the president of Parents Without Partners. She was so social, such a wonderful woman. And me, little Martha, you know, if I was lucky if I had 2 friends at a time. Usually I had one. But now that I'm older, I realize that's a sign of many other things. And I've had a wonderful life. And the friends that I've had have been good friends and close friends. And I haven't had to waste time with people on the periphery who've wasted my time and dragged me down, which is a very good blessing. So yes, be grateful. If your car breaks down, I have a story about that too. My car broke down and I was grateful. Why? Because I have no idea. Maybe that car breaking down saved me from an accident. Maybe that, who knows, that car breaking down gave me an opportunity to exercise, Martha, you know, because I have a belief everything that happens benefits me. So I had to say to myself, okay, now, Miss Big Mouth, everything that happens benefits me. So how does this benefit me? So I said, well, guess what? I'm developing patience, aren't I? Yes, it's benefiting me. And I was very blessed, because the car can be fixed. Cars can be fixed. Alrighty, so I'm so glad you're here, and we're doing this every day for 20 minutes for 30 days till the end of July, and also every Friday. This Friday, 7, um, this Friday, 7/7/23 at 5 p.m., I'm going to be doing a longer little workshop about specifically how to stop bad habits. We're going to talk, I think, about smoking, drinking, and overeating, because there are specific techniques that you can do that make it so much easier. You don't have to suffer. You know, you don't have to suffer to stop a bad habit. I quit smoking. I said, okay, this is my last cigarette, and it was. And that was 40 years ago. So, things that I quit drinking. Okay, this is my last drink, and it was 5 years ago. So, we kind of make things difficult. We can make it as easy or as difficult as we want to, but I'll give you a bunch of techniques to make those things a lot easier. And I'm so glad that you came to join me today. And remember to be grateful. Every little thing. You know, my little doggy, when he needs to go out at midnight, I get annoyed. You know, I think to myself, oh my goodness, it's midnight. And I have to go out and let the dog out. But you know what? I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have that little doggy. I'm blessed that he's healthy. I'm blessed that he knows enough to paw at my door and not to go on the rug. What a blessing, huh? That he wakes me up at midnight and doesn't go on the rug. Thank you. Thank you, little buddy. So look for the blessing and look for the gratitude. Be grateful for everything. Do you have pots and pans? Do you have food? Do you have friends? Do you have family? Do you have people that loved you? You're blessed. You're truly blessed. And remember that. And thank you again so much for coming here. Alrighty, that's it for today, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye bye.